All right, welcome to the pod, presented by Invesco QQQ. We got a lot today. We're going to get a ton of football in, and I'm just letting you know we are the podcast to make a deep dive on this transatlantic flight that had to be turned around due to a biohazard. If you know, you know. I think I have cracked at least part of the case. I believe I have cracked this part of the case. So,
does it involve Taco Bell?
I have a theory on what food was consumed. I have a working theory. The Delta police. If Delta gives me a few extra flyer miles, I will help them with this.
Hope Taco Bell's not a sponsor.
But first, Alabama hosts Texas. One of the biggest games everyone's been pointing to. Number 11 Longhorns, number 3 Crimson Tide. Wild game last year in Austin. Now they're playing. They'll soon play more often because they're both in the SEC. Interesting. We had this whole conference realignment. You want to know why TV executives are making the presidents and ADs are bamboozling them into conference realignment? This weekend, there's only 2 games featuring two ranked opponents. There's Texas at Alabama, and there's Ole Miss at Tulane. That's it. 20 at 24. I feel like we never needed to do realignment if they just did some scheduling alliances. And I know the term alliance is all wrong, but if they just done that, if we just had more games, if Michigan would play somebody, if teams would play 2 good teams instead of just one, we wouldn't have needed all this. But this is why, because there's if you're a TV exec and you're doling out all these millions and millions and millions of dollars, you're like, where the hell are the good games? I only got Texas and Alabama. Yeah, it's probably going to get like 10 million viewers, but the rest of the slate, not so good. Now, Coach Prime's going to bring a lot to Big Noon, and Fox has bet heavily on him and all that, but this is your thing. But regardless, that's an aside. Pat, how excited are we? Texas, Alabama, and I want to know, what would a victory mean for each program?
I'm excited for sure. We are here again, and I wrote in the 40-yard dash this week on the basically the brief history of miscalculations of whether Texas was back or not. And there have been many since 2009, the last time they were actually back. This time looks as legitimate as any of them, but we've been wrong before. Nevertheless, for Texas, huge credibility game. On paper, you have your best team since you played Alabama in the national championship game in 2009. You've recruited well. You've retained players. You've developed. And you are not just playing Alabama here, you're playing for SEC credibility going in next year as well. Came within a point last year, and that was another one of those, Texas might be back. Maybe not so much. But this year, you go into Bryant-Denny Stadium, and I think it's not just play them close. They did that last year. Go into Bryant-Denny Stadium and win. They're a touchdown underdog, probably about where they should be. For Alabama, I think it's also big because there's people doubting Alabama, myself included. And they look good against Middle Tennessee State, but so what? That's Middle Tennessee State. You slipped behind Georgia. You didn't win the SEC West last year. Are you back to being big old Alabama, or are you Alabama on the slide like we saw with Clemson? So I think it's a very important game for both teams and pretty fascinating.
It is, and it's just rife with storylines. You look at, what happened last year when really, right out, I think most people would say Texas outplayed them last year and lost its quarterback, obviously, in the second quarter, and just couldn't score in the red zone. And Alabama won on that last-minute field goal, last-minute drive, marched it down the field. Bryce Young, that was kind of his, I felt like his biggest moment that I saw, at least in person, was that game. It was an incredible final drive. So you have last year's game, then of course you have the storyline of the coaches, right? Nick Saban gave Steve Sarkisian kind of a career life preserver, if you will, in 2016 when after he was fired from USC and went through the alcoholism and all that, and Nick Saban hired him as an analyst, and then he went to the Falcons and came back to Alabama and had put together two of the better offenses at Alabama that we've seen in 2019 and in 2020, especially during the COVID year. So it was pretty incredible, and I'll say, not only did maybe Nick Saban and Alabama save, or at least a part of saving his career, but there's a little storyline here that they saved his life as well. He had a physical at Alabama that was mandatory and found a heart issue and had emergency heart surgery. So lots of storylines. I'm sure it's going to be an incredible environment. Usually these games in Tuscaloosa are a day game because they're on CBS, SEC CBS, but no, we get a night game here, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna be unbelievable scene down there, and I think I like what both you're saying. Like this game, I mean, at Alabama, you want to win, you expect to win every game, but you kind of need to win this game. And if you're Texas, you kind of need to win this game. And I agree, Pat. They don't need to be, we're playing them close. Like you're Texas, let's go. You have Quinn Ewers, the mega recruit from a couple years ago. You have all sorts of talent all over. You had plenty of time to get this done. You've got this coach that you're expecting. You got to go in there and win the game. And Alabama hasn't proven to be the thing. But if Texas doesn't win this game, they'll still have the Red River, but then there's sort of this slog through the Big 12 on a final lap. Alabama's got time to recover. Also, this, last year, the 14 playoff, like you got to make hay when you can make it. It's the season will shift to later in the season and certainly the playoff in the future. But I think for a million reasons, you want to make that statement. What was it? 12 years ago that Texas A&M made their statement. They were going to be they were going to be at least viable in the SEC by walking into Tuscaloosa. Johnny Manziel wins. They've never really grown off of that, but Texas has cashed in a long time on what it's supposed to be. Being quote back, this would do it for them, and then conversely, like so Ewers, this prove how good you are, right? The plan is he comes in, huge year, goes to the draft, Manning takes over next year, boom, everything's rolling. We got to see that from Quinn Ewers, and I don't know that we've seen that yet. And then you got Jalen Milroe on the other side. He's still unproven. Great game against Middle Tennessee. Can they get pressure on him? All those different things. I think it's just going to be a fascinating matchup in a lot of ways of two teams that at least appear right now to be a lot more even than last year when it turned out to be pretty even.
Yeah, in Texas's case specifically, since Sark took over, they've improved, I think, on the lines, especially their offensive line. And I think we've talked about it on the show before. They've got a pretty good NIL collective and system for their offensive linemen. And I think they signed the best offensive line class, I believe, last year or the year before. So they've been reeling in some good players up front. And yeah, it seems like this is the year that it's all kind of coming together for Sark, and year 3 usually is that year, and then conversely, right? I think Alabama isn't necessarily what it was 3 to 5 years ago, where it just had such superior talent, especially on the lines, but also in the skill positions, that it just kind of mowed over everyone. Just doesn't necessarily feel that way. And there's been some coaches. I think Hugh Freeze back in the spring said it, that look, I mean, Georgia on the front seven has kind of overtaken Alabama. So maybe they're going to be a little bit exposed. I'm sure Texas would rather play this game at home, but also, by the way, we have to talk about the pettiness of college football, where Texas has they seat the visiting fans and band up on the upper section. It's kind of like a thing at Texas. It's what they do. Everybody sits, all the visiting fans sit on the upper section, way up in the nosebleeds. And usually at Alabama and a lot of other places in the country, there's a small section, say 2,000 fans in the band for the visiting team get the lower bowl, get in the lower bowl, and then the rest get in the upper. Well, for this game, to return the favor, I saw that Tuscaloosa News reported that Alabama will seat all of the visiting fans from Texas and the band in the upper section. Actually, I don't even know if the band is making the trip because of that. So, yes,
wait. The band won't come. They can't climb the steps.
I don't remember. I'm trying to remember what.
All right, look that up because that's terrible.
I'm gonna look it up.
You know what? I will say this. This is a tangent here, but this reminds me. Remember, Dan, when we had the great investigation into the extra tuba at the Michigan State game that you were on?
Yes. Michigan made Michigan State sit up in the top. No, Michigan State made Michigan sit in the top of Spartan Stadium.
Yeah. So the bands just got to sit wherever they sit. But I'm told that bands sometimes will bring extra, like, practice squad players because the formation gets all messed up if somebody's sick and they can't go, and you need that extra clarinetist out there. And so you'll have like 8 practice squad band members that go with the band on these road trips that don't even play probably. So that's why I think there was an extra tuba at the Michigan.
Okay, so what happened was we're watching and they make the Michigan band climb all the way to the top of Spartan Stadium. And I mean, what is it, like 10 stories?
It's a long
way.
What
these stadiums are 10, 12 I mean, you go up in an elevator. The tuba can't be that easy. It's a long way. And then they come down to perform at halftime. They got to leave like in the middle of the first quarter, practically, right?
Yeah,
they got to march
all 900 of them down there,
all the way down. Somebody left a tuba at the top of Spartan Stadium.
Yeah,
Pat was watching the game. I was fascinated by someone forgot their tuba and was going to have to run back up, or were we going to get a guy out there on the field marching around pretending, playing air tuba? So this is, I think it's tough being in the band. It's tough being, you got to this is the playing on the road, man.
Yeah.
It ain't easy.
But hey, I mean, I didn't even know they have backup band people that don't even they're just there for emergencies.
I say you got to throw the band up high. Let that music just play off into no one will even hear it. Can't put them down low playing that stupid I've been working on the railroad song all day. If Texas had a better fight song than I've been working on the railroad, maybe I'd be on their side, but I wouldn't want to listen. If I'm Greg Byrne at Alabama, I don't want to hear that song all day long. Get your ass to the top of Brian Denny or come up with a better song.
Well, a small version of the Longhorn band will be making the trip. What I remembered in my brain was that last year, because of the seating arrangement, the $1 Million Band did not make the trip.
Pampered.
Yeah.
That explains the season last year. Need some more grit.
I love Greg Byrne, the AD at Alabama, his quote to the Tuscaloosa News, just one simple sentence. We are able to reciprocate a similar seating arrangement to what we had last year in Austin.
Beautiful.
That's it.
I did have an AD tell me, so the last thing you want is an angry band director because they do not stop. They take themselves rather seriously.
Yeah, they do.
Well, you guys remember the COVID year. You remember SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey telling me this when the SEC announced that there would be no halftime performances, by the band because it's COVID and, because of the protocols and such, that wasn't safe to do. I remember him saying he got more emails from that decision from band members and band directors and school band people than he had gotten in any other decision in his life.
Do not get the band mad at you.
Don't F with the band, man. Don't F with the band. All right, quickly, another Texas school with a big game is ranked. A&M is ranked 23rd, I think they came in. They're traveling to Miami, Florida, the real one. Sorry, Ohio. The Miami, Florida Hurricanes. Pretty interesting game. Connor Wegman threw 5 TDs last week. It was against New Mexico, but still, Bobby Petrino experiment looking good. Little nervous about letting Bobby P loose down in South Florida for the weekend, but who knows? Maybe keep him on.
Lock up the motorcycles.
Yeah, if he's riding a motorcycle around Fontainebleau, bet the Canes, okay? But if he's careful. But if not, quickly on this game, A&M is a wild card here because they could be really good or they could be one of their, really not good. And this feels like a real ladder game. Miami's going to be tough. I think they will get a good crowd for this. It's a name brand. We'll see how hot it is. We'll see what the weather is. There's a storm another storm in Atlantic. There's a lot to see, but thoughts on this one, Ross?
Yeah, there's a lot of Power 5 non-conference games this week. There's like maybe 15 of them or so. There are not a whole lot of ranked ones, as you mentioned, but there are a lot of them I'm intrigued about. This is the most intriguing for me, even more than Texas, Alabama. I'm more interested in Texas A&M, Miami. These are kind of two programs that, and we talked about it at length last year when they played. A&M barely won down there in College Station, but these are two programs that, right, historically have a lot of resources and money and have been successful, and trying to get back, and they're trying to get back, and they're using NIL and their resources to do it, and it's been fascinating 2 years to watch. They have two kind of colorful football coaches who were paid a lot of money. For Mario Cristobal down at Miami, after a disappointing year one, this is just a huge game for him. It's there at home against an SEC team. He kind of overhauled his staff after year two, and then Jimbo kind of did the same thing, right? And this is going to be a good gauge on A&M's situation within the coaching staff and the offense, right? Because most of the summer, in the spring, at least I was hearing, hey, things are working with Bobby Petrino and Jimbo Fisher. Like inside the office, they're great. Everything's going well, all this stuff. He's going to relinquish play calling duties. Bobby's going to handle it. But I want to see what happens on 3rd and 4 in the third quarter when you're down by a field goal at Miami. Like, that's going to be the real test here.
Yeah, it's I think ladder game, as you put it, Dan, is a good description. I think winner gains a lot of kind of credibility within their own program, their fan base, and perhaps nationally as well, although they played this game last year and both teams stunk, as it turned out. But still, an important game. And then the loser's like, oh, my gosh, are we going forward or not after a bad year last year? I think it's going to be a very good chess match schematically between Bobby Petrino and Lance Guidry, the defensive coordinator who was hired at Miami in the offseason, who I think was a really stealth great hire by Mario Cristobal. Guidry had been at Marshall and did a really good job there. And the early returns, I know it was Miami of Ohio, but still, 3 points, 215 total yards allowed. That was a very strong showing by the Miami defense. So Bobby Petrino is going to match wits with a guy who's pretty darn good in Guidry. We'll see who has the players. Connor Wegman, as you said, really an excellent debut. Now it's against air, basically, but still 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Texas A&M had a hard time doing that against anyone in the last since Kellen Mond left. So that was a very good start for them. So which improved unit holds sway there between the A&M offense or the Miami defense?
Yeah, it's going to be a big one. All right, Nebraska is visiting Coach Prime in Boulder. It'll be sold out. It'll be mayhem. It'll be not something we haven't seen in Boulder in a generation or longer. I don't know how long a generation is, but it's going to be incredible. An incredible scene up there. They're going to get Ralphie out. Prime will be wearing a cowboy hat probably or something. I'm dying to see what the TV ratings are now. Colorado electrified this sport. Travis Hunter electrified the sport. Like Tom Brady was talking at length about Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter the other, just the amount of attention, NFL level attention on the Colorado program. It's just amazing. So this could be an absolutely huge game. My question here is, they look really good. They come out of nowhere. They beat TCU. They wind up 22nd in the poll. Why not higher? Why are they not ranked higher? I don't get polls. I don't vote in them, but I can't vote for something important like this, let alone like presidential election. I don't bother with that. No, I'm only kidding. But what should they be higher? And what are your thoughts on we talked a lot about the game, obviously, on Monday, but the just overwhelming, just Colorado that has hit college football and the national sports fan consciousness in the last couple of days, Pat.
Yeah, a couple things before I get to the poll thing there. First of all, yes, and hey, we've been talking Colorado for months now. We are a Deion Sanders Colorado podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been there on the ground floor of this. I just saw on Twitter, people were saying, man, that TCU Colorado game could do like 5 million viewers. It did 7.26 million.
Yeah.
That's a big number for a noon game. Wow. So the interest is there.
Without an Ohio, like a big fan base attached.
Right.
Ohio State, Penn State, Texas. Woo, that's huge.
Yeah. That is a major number.
They'll do this again this week. Easy.
Absolutely. Yes, they will. And to think that they lived up to all the billing and all the hype and all the curiosity to such a degree. And that's what I think has really captivated people. It was a show. It was a performance. And this is going to be the same, I think. I think Boulder is a laid-back town that gets on a bandwagon. When there's a bandwagon to get on, they'll be on it. It should be bananas out there. And I am pleased to see, Deion's come in and blown up everything, but he did give a nod to Colorado tradition this week and say, hey, I hear they hate Nebraska around here. We're on board with that. This is a big rivalry game now for us because Colorado has always hated Nebraska. Nebraska used to wipe the field with Colorado for decades, and then Colorado kind of reversed that for a spell. But so I just think this is fascinating. Now, why Colorado's ranked 22? Because the polls are stupid. They're ridiculous. They're nonsensical. They are rigid thinking, slot voting. People decide in August, well, this is where everybody should be, and we can't really change that once they start playing, can we? Of course you can. That's Ross, you did a good job in your top 10 the way I usually tried to do it when I did a top 10 of just throw everything out until they actually play and then go based on that. And based on that, Colorado's a hell of a lot better than the number 22 team in the country. They went on the road as a 3-touchdown underdog against a power conference opponent, led almost the whole game, won the game. That should be a top 10 ranked team. And then you blow it all up again next week if need be. They lose Nebraska, they lose Nebraska. Doesn't mean they were overrated. It means based on week 1, they should be in the top 10.
Yeah, I had them number 2. I did this top 10 before the Florida State LSU game in Clemson and Duke. Not that either one of them maybe would make my top 10, maybe Duke. Because I'm just basing the top 10 this year, on what you've done, throwing out all the preseason, throwing out all the past results. So, yeah, my top 10 was North Carolina 1, Colorado 2. And, I think I saw that Colorado, the get-in price for the game is for $400. And yeah, I'm not sure when a Colorado game, that the get-in price was over $100, let alone $400. And speaking of the rivalry, I also saw this week.
That's a lot of edibles.
Yeah. The get-in price is usually slip an edible to the usher and walk into an empty bleacher.
But the rivalry with Nebraska, no red, right? I saw Travis Hunter was buying into the no red, and was even going to remove from his merchandise site any red shirts. They were all getting taken out, at least for this week. So,
on top of the TV ratings, you look at their YouTube channel. Coach Prime leads the Buffaloes out to the tunnel, 93,000 views. Press conference, 174,000. Another press conference, 300,000. His halftime speech, 84,000. I should have done the research, checked his TikTok. I mean, it's all consuming. It's 7 million watching, but when you've got 100,000 people nearly watching a halftime speech, and it was pretty damn good, by the way. It was
it's really good,
and I love when he ends. Where's my theme music? I mean, it's so good. It's just so good. I want to play for the guy so bad. I wish I was 18 and had any ability at all. He's so fun. It's just like, come on. So he is just dominating, and he is hitting markets that the sport can't hit.
Yes.
And we talk. This is why everyone should have hired the guy, because he has a chance to take your program. It's not like most times you hire a guy and you're like, okay, we're a 7-5 program. Man, this guy might get us to 9-3. Like, realistically, this is the guy that can go from, like, we said, give him time. Wait till see all these flips in December. He's going to flip some 5 stars. I will guarantee he's going to flip some 5 stars. And these guys are going to get better and better and better. And, you give him time. But, yeah, just unbelievable attention to Colorado. He is worth a fortune to that school.
Those YouTube numbers are almost as good as the College Football Inquirer.
That's
YouTube
true.
Viewer numbers. We're on YouTube.
Where's my theme music? I need theme music now. All right, let's take a quick break.
You know what your theme music would be? It's that circus song.
Yeah, pretty much. Hooked on phonics should be. I think I've pronounced every word so far. Every word so far.
You're hitting 100% today.
I am not mentioning NORFOLK Nebraska.
Yeah, please don't.
I am not doing that again.
Clear.
This is a family podcast
of the NF word.
All right. Let's take a quick break. We'll come right back. So the one game we didn't get to from the weekend because it was Monday night, but it was a stunner. Clemson, little old Clemson goes up to little old Duke. And little old Duke isn't a little old anymore. They're big and new. And Clemson loses 28-7. Disastrous start. Even William Christopher Sweeney, that boy, said not a good way to start the season. Hugely disappointing. His opinion is this was just that it was the product of 3 turnovers, 2 blocked field goals, terrible decisions, that he still has a good team. This is the first time they were 108-0 Clemson football when they gained 200 yards and rushed for 200 and passed for 200 in a single game. They are now 108-1. Everyone else is looking and saying this is a referendum on the program. Almost everyone in college football, not everyone. Georgia didn't do it last year, and a few other schools don't do a whole lot. Alabama doesn't do a whole lot, but most schools, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Texas, all these schools hit the transfer portal. William Christopher does not believe in that. He wants to develop his high school guys. He wants to show loyalty to them. He wants them on track graduating. All admirable things. But can you win in the now modern era without bolstering some spots on your roster? The last 2 years, he's taken just one player out of the transfer portal. Both times are just a depth quarterback to add some depth. He is not adding things. So that is the referendum right now on Clemson. I'm going to give Dabo the opportunity to see what he does against Florida State in a couple weeks. He's earned the right to say this is a good football team. He knows what a good football team is. We'll see. But what's the level of concern at Clemson right now? I'll start with you, Ross.
Yeah, I visited Dabo back in April or May, and we actually talked about the portal and his kind of thoughts on the portal. And yeah, I mean, one of the 2 players I think that he's gotten out of the portal, right, was a backup quarterback who had previously been at Clemson, and he returned to Clemson. But I remember him expressing an openness more to use the portal when he realized he was going to have to use the portal. You don't have, in Dan, you said it, Georgia's, Alabama's, they don't use the portal that much, right? They plug holes, maybe a player here and there. If you can recruit high school players at a high level and retain them, you don't need to use the portal, really, and develop them too, because sometimes these highly ranked high school players can maybe not pan out, and so you do need to kind of replace them. But it's just fascinating this first week when you had 2 games in Texas, TCU and Colorado, and Texas State and Baylor, where you had upsets by the road team, Colorado and Texas State, who combined for basically a right around 120 transfers on their teams, 70 at Colorado and 50 down there at Texas State. And, again, it's just one game, but it's fascinating to see that and then to look at what happened with Clemson.
Yeah, look, this I can't write this as a one-off for Dabo when you look at the way they ended last year. They've now lost 4 of their last 7 games. They were thumped by Notre Dame. They were routed by Tennessee. They were upset by a South Carolina program they have owned. And now you get thumped by Duke. And yes, to your point, Dan, credit to Duke. They've got some thumpers on that team on defense, and they've got a game-making quarterback in Riley Leonard. But I didn't even think Duke played that well. Duke made a ton of mistakes. Duke left points on the field. I mean, it wasn't like Duke just rose up and had the game of their lives here in this, and they win by 3 touchdowns. So Dabo, yes, transfer portal. Hey, you think he wouldn't like to have Keon Coleman, who's at Florida State, came from Michigan State, a game-breaking receiver who can make big plays down the field? I don't see anybody at Clemson doing that. I don't see people making those 50-50 catches on 40-yard passes. I see a quarterback in Cade Klubnik who looks a lot like DJ Uiagalelei in terms of, can he make enough big plays? Can he not make enough mistakes? Not make too many mistakes? I see an offense that you can change coordinators, you can change starting QBs, still looks like it has the same issues. So, yeah, okay. Maybe this was just purely the product of a bunch of red zone failures, and they'll clean that up. But I would be very concerned if I were a Clemson fan that this thing has gone backwards and is going to have a hard time getting back going forward again.
Yeah, even if they cleaned out that stuff up, they didn't look like the dominant team. Longest pass play was just 21 yards. I also think when you have a run of Deshaun Watson, a 1-year gap, and then Trevor Lawrence, when you got that level quarterback, it cleans up a lot. If Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson was the QB, they probably win the game, but they still don't look impressive doing it. And so I just think this is teetering. I don't know whether Dabo will change his thing or not. Will he change things up? It's going to be pretty interesting, but he may have to. All right, we want to get to this weird story out of Baton Rouge. Last week at his coach's radio show, it's great. Coach Prime's got like 17 YouTube shows. Brian Kelly doing the old school down the bar radio show. I like that was the original YouTube, right? The original YouTube show. He said we're going to beat the heck out of Florida State in the middle of a long thing, and we're going to play it in a sec. It was then brought up. This is the crowd at TJ Ribs in Baton Rouge. Quality spot, by the way, for the coaches show. Everyone cheered, got excited. So it got back to Florida State. So now Brian Kelly says this week, he's asked about that quote, and he says, I have no idea. I mean, look, I think you all know me. I'm pretty careful with what I say and how I said it. Never have I been cavalier or disrespectful to any opponent in my 33 years. So if someone wants to prop a comment like that and inflate into something it's not, that's what social media is about today. But I have nothing but the utmost respect. I know who the opponent was. It's just not in my background or nature to make those kind of comments. So he kind of denying he said it, but it's Sean, can you play the tape?
Receipts
that need to be improved. We're going to take 15 freshmen on this trip and 14 transfers. So nearly 40% of this travel roster are going to go overnight for the first time with LSU. So, and that's not a disclaimer of any kind. We're going to go beat the heck out of Florida State. But
Ross,
I guess what I'm saying
we've got the
is
Nixon tapes here. It's like Watergate.
Yes.
You're our Louisiana expert. Why does Brian Kelly do things like this? Like, we wouldn't even be talking about this.
Yeah, I have all the answers to that.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's kind of like the from a few weeks back, the Brett your mark at the Texas Tech Booster Club and saying go beat Texas Tech or go beat Texas to the Texas Tech Booster Club. Brian Kelly's in front of a group of LSU fans, and certainly you're in front of a group, and sometimes I think it changes how you think or feel or talk. And I'm guessing I'm going to chalk it up to that, playing to the crowd, so to speak. We see that a lot. I just don't. I don't understand why. In the following press conference, that he said he didn't say it. It's like it's there. We've heard it, but I don't understand.
Yeah, okay. First of all, if we're doing the Nixon analogy, Brian needs the Rosemary Woods. That was Nixon's secretary who was in charge of the tapes, and suddenly there was a 22.5-minute gap in the tapes when they went to the congressional hearings. So Brian needs his Rosemary Woods. Did anybody within the program not bring it up to Brian before his press conference and say, hey, this is out there? Because otherwise, first of all, he's either A, flat out lying, or B, doesn't remember what he said. And why the heck would you not remember what you said on your own radio show? I mean, it's clear as day. And it was a bit of just kind of a throwaway line, but he said it. And so, how does somebody some of the support staff, media relations or whatever say, hey, Brian, this is out there. Yeah, you said it and you may get asked about it or whatever. And and if he's still like, well, I'm going to deny it. You're like, okay, you do you. But I am just perplexed at how you could possibly stand in front of a microphone, and lie and think you weren't going to get caught unless you don't think you're lying. Like you just literally don't remember you said it. And if that's the case, why don't you remember it?
I actually get you don't remember because he's probably the last place he wanted to be was TJ Ribs. No offense to TJ Ribs. He's thinking about the game. And so I don't remember what I say on this podcast, but people bring it up. I'm like, I said that? I probably did. Yeah. You just assume that you did say it. I don't know. Kind of weird. It's a tough weekend for Brian Kelly. But his accent was fine. So that helped. All right. Big weekend for the Tupac, the remaining Pac-2. Wisconsin is at Washington State. UC Davis at Oregon, the race for the Tupac title. I think we're going to dub it. I've also come into possession of the new Pac-2 theme song. The Pac-2 that's going to have a new theme song. Could you play that song, Sean? The old Pac-2.
Hello, it's me. I was wondering if after all these years you'd like to go over everything.
All right.
Poor Pac-2.
That is appropriately pitifully sad music for the Pac-2.
So sad.
Yeah, Dan Byrne had his Pac-4 song that some of us liked more than others, but they're down to 2 now, so we need a new song. And there we
Adele,
go.
You got to beat Adele.
Yeah.
Can you do better than Adele's Heartbreak? Sometimes you just got to cry. That's it. They just got like Taylor Swift and Olivia Rodrigo on loop.
Just let it out.
Yep, just let it out. What's the latest on the Pac-2 and what they're thinking of doing long term? We'll do this briefly, but Ross, anyone know? If you don't have an answer, just skip it.
Yeah, I think they're still seriously exploring the possibility of rebuilding and adding teams eventually to keep the assets of the Pac-12. It seems like a difficult task, and I don't think it's the most likely solution here. The most likely solution is that they roll into the Mountain West. I think that's probably the easiest and most likely, but I think the lawyers are fairly hard at work, it sounds like, trying to determine what the assets and the liabilities and legal issues are in the Pac-12. If you preserve the brand, merge with the Mountain West, take other teams, what can you do? There's a really important note here, and it's that any league can still be considered a league, a conference, and the Pac-12 Pac-12 can preserve its A5 legislative autonomous powers with the NCAA for 2 years, the 2-year grace period to build back up to 8 members. So they have 2 years to get there. And I think that's kind of like left the door open for a possibility. But, it would seem like a very difficult thing.
For the zombie conference, the undead
Yes.
Pac-2. Oh, my gosh.
Pac-2 lives. All right, big thing this year was the change in the clock rules. They're not stopping the clock after first downs except the last 2 minutes. And I don't know, there was some other stuff I can't remember. So it's supposed to cut down on the number of plays for the safety of the players. What it has not apparently done so far is really shorten the games, which was also deemed to be a thing. It appears, we don't know, I can't find good data, although I'll give you some information I have. That the TV networks just took the extra time and added more commercials. Chip Kelly, UCLA coach Chip Kelly, in the middle of the game, God bless Chip Kelly, a halftime interview, he's running off the field at halftime and he starts bashing the TV network. This new rule, it's crazy. We had 4 drives in the first half. This game goes fast. Hope you guys are selling a lot of commercials. Chip Kelly coached 2 different NFL teams, so he knows how quick it can go. Kyle Whittingham, I guess if they were trying to tone that down, they accomplished their objective. Seemed like they made up for it with more commercials. There were commercials every 2 minutes. I don't know what that's all about. I guess we've got bills to pay. They've got coaches to pay, gentlemen. They've got coaches to pay. Let's
Utah, you're in the Pac-12. Damn right you have a bill to pay. You have a $70 million bill for Comcast.
Yeah, you do have bills to pay. But again, I've never seen these guys turn down a raise.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
I got 2 extra minutes of work. Like, welcome to the American worker, man.
I do wonder if coaches would if they would agree to give up, let's say, 15% of their salary in order to cut out 50% or something of the commercials.
We know the answer to that.
No
know
chance.
the answer.
They'll sit out there for 6 hours.
I was I'm going to wait for another week for data to check game lengths, but anecdotally, they do not seem to be demonstrably shorter in terms of the length of time from when you turn it on to when it is over. And if that's the case, then this is exactly what you expect from the television networks. Give them a chance to wrench a little more money out of the proceedings, by golly, they will. So if we have safer players, fine. But if it's only just going to make richer networks, not a great outcome.
Yeah. So somebody named Pitiful Bumblebee 775. Pitiful Bumblebee 775 on Reddit.
Okay.
Sure, why not? Was fired up about this on Saturday, so decided, or she, I don't know who Pitiful Bumblebee could be. Don't want to misgender Pitiful Bumblebee 775. They took 2 phones with the clock app open and tried to check the time during the FSU LSU game on Sunday night. Pitiful Bumblebee 775 says the game kicked off at 7:45, ended at 11:08. It's 3 hours and 23 minutes. The average last year was apparently 3 hours, 27 minutes. So I guess we shortened it. But there were 131 ads that took 55 minutes and 48 seconds of the broadcast.
Good Lord.
131 ads. And they didn't count all the bumpers where the show comes back saying tonight's game is brought to you by, and things like the Camping World game track or the Affleck trivia question wasn't counted as ad times. So the ads are actually higher than 55 minutes and 48 seconds. I guess it seems astounding. I don't know, but I mean,
but honestly, look, we've been so anesthetized to this. I think it's like you just become accustomed to the advertising bombardment that I don't know whether, the incremental addition of these ads is enough for people to say, hey, wait a minute, what the hell? Maybe obviously it has for some people, but as we have proven time and time and time and time again, the American public will put up with a lot to get its football. And so 55 minutes of ads, yes, the American public will tolerate it.
Too many ads, Ross? No thoughts. Did Ross?
Yes, yeah, way too many ads.
many ads, yeah.
I hate it.
I mean, Fanville's
drags
pretty
out the
good
game,
so
yeah.
far, but all right. Well, I guess guys are going to get stuck. This is it. We let TV networks run the sport. So here we are. All right, quick update. We have a couple things here. Certainly want to get this right. We're not in favor of starting holy wars. Keon Coleman, LSU receiver's mom, made the quote to Ross that God said, "Make your enemies your footstool," which became a big thing. Was God misquoted? Did God say? Should God have said this? Is God still talking? We can't just because it's not.
Was it in context?
I don't know.
Did God ask for a correction?
We don't know. We're gonna find out. If let me put it this way: if FSU starts losing all its games, okay, I don't know. I'm just saying. What does God think of this? God did not respond to requests to be on the pod. You're welcome. If God wants to come on that would do some ratings.
That would be a big get.
That would be a big get. That's the big get.
Yeah.
So it was noted that footstools were not invented until the 18th century. Which my question is, why not? Footstools are good.
I think that's what they used to use servants as footstools back in the day.
Yeah, probably did.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Here, get down on all fours and let me put my feet up.
Our resident pastor, Jonathan Conrad of the St. Paul's Lutheran, he's the senior pastor there and a loyal listener. We have other pastors, no offense to the rest.
Yeah.
Unusual number of men of God listen to this. I don't know why. Maybe to save my soul.
Perplexed me, but I'm glad to have him.
He said that the footstool was used in connection with Solomon's literal throne, but also metaphorically as the enslavement servitude of Israel's enemies to God. That's his response.
Okay.
I think God's just speaking to Keon Coleman's family. That's my thought. So
you know what? Who are we to say he's not?
Who are we to say? Who are we to say? One other thing before we get to the big item.
We do. I'm glad you did. We don't want to get into a liturgical morass.
I don't want to be in the middle of this. I don't want to be in the middle of that. Please. I don't know. Purdue is just messing with me. Purdue's acting up again. Purdue
versus Wetzel, the biggest rivalry in podcasting.
They're just taunting me now. They lose to Fresno, and then they taunt me. Purdue's mechanical engineering, and I credit these guys. I mean, they got some engineers down there at Purdue. They created the world's smallest drum. It's just 50 microns in diameter. It's okay. It was 3D printed, and you can actually play drum on this thing. It is. I don't even know what 50 microns in diameter is. It is 184 trillion times smaller than the Purdue band's drum. But this is where they lost me. Purdue announces which is the world's largest drum, which it is not. Because the Koreans have bigger drums. So
here we go.
You may have the smallest drum, but you don't have the biggest.
But we don't really know if they have the smallest either. They don't have credibility there.
That's a
good
Koreans
point. Might have a smaller one too.
Don't put. We challenge them
coming and going.
We challenge the South Koreans to do this. They'll get it done. Pat, you and I have been there.
Oh, yeah.
They're very resourceful people. Yep, very resourceful. So I have all of that. But I see you, Purdue Mechanical Engineering. Good work. Why make the world small? What do these people have nothing to do? Their football team needs to get better just so they don't sit around with nothing else. All right, the big story of the week. This is a mystery, and I admit I have gone deep into this one.
Which says something.
Yeah. And the Daily Mail. I've had my issues with the Daily Mail lately. You would not be surprised they are all over this story. Like if there's a big financial story, you read the Wall Street Journal. There's a big political story, maybe you read the Washington Post. There's a big story about somebody having diarrhea on an international flight from Atlanta to Barcelona that is deemed a biohazard and makes the flight turn around. You read the Daily Mail.
Yes, you do.
You read the Daily Mail. Air traffic audio recordings. At first I thought this was fake. Plane leaves Atlanta going to Barcelona. Somebody has an incident. I don't know how to do this without swearing. An incident in the aisle.
Poopy.
In the aisle.
You mean poopy?
They're running down the aisle apparently to get to the bathroom, and it just doesn't work. There are actual air traffic audio recordings. One of the pilots confirming to the confused air traffic controller why they're coming back. Quote, "It's just a biohazard issue. We had a passenger who had diarrhea all the way through the airplane, so they want us to come back to Atlanta." There has now been video of this. And I mean, you're like, wait, there's an incident. Do you need to turn in? I mean, there's a big plane flying to Spain. You need to turn the whole plane. This thing looks like he was dismembered. This dude was emptied out. What in God's name? What happened? What kind of pants was he wearing that this could even get out? Was he wearing pants?
That's my question. How did it get loose that much? Loose? Did he? I mean, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
No underwear? Was he shorts? Did
he disrobe on his way to the bathroom out of panic or something? I mean, holy moly. I mean, can you imagine you got an aisle seat, you want an aisle seat, you're happy, and this comes down the aisle at you? Oh, my goodness.
There's no video of the incident. I think he just snuck up on people. He was running. And I'm assuming it's a man. I hope it's
given.
Yeah. I mean, we have no proof.
Yeah.
We have no. I mean, just. And I'm gonna get to I've cracked a little bit of this case, but we do have quotes from various social media. The Daily Mail did a good job combing the global World Wide Web. Both my wife and I were on the flight. It was a mess. The pilots made the right decision to turn around. When they got back, the ground crew ripped out the carpet and put a new one in. The guy's crap was so bad, they had to replace the carpet on an airplane.
I tell you what, like, that's a bad job. You're in the cleaning crew. You're hearing the planes coming back. Why? Diarrhea. Ooh.
Oh, I'm a.
And then you go in and look. It's like I think I would quit on the spot. Be like,
how about hat tip to Delta having like carpet installers on call?
Yeah, right. You know?
Yeah.
The carpet guys got down there quick to Hartsfield.
If it was me, I'd be like, that's hepatitis. I ain't touching that. I'm not going near there.
A biohazard. During the flight back, they tried the flight attendants tried to cover it up and do the best they could. They had a vanilla disinfectant.
No!
As one person told,
vanilla and chocolate.
One told.
Could you imagine the smell in that cabin? I mean, you remember? Wait, there was another story. Was it? Like, I think we discussed on the pod where the dog ran loose from first class.
Yeah,
pooped all the way down.
Yeah,
the aisle.
Oh, maybe it was.
This is a human.
This is a human. This is not a dog. This is a human.
Allegedly a human.
Allegedly, that dude ain't real. Remember that lady? Maybe it was her. Maybe she knows who it was.
I will say this. Like, that guy better hope his identity never comes out. Because you do not want that following you for life.
And I can tell you the full power and resources of the Daily Mail is trying to find you. They are trying to find you. The vanilla scented disinfectant used on it, this is according to one pastor, only made it smell like vanilla stuff.
Poop excrement.
I don't know what vanilla excrement smells like. I don't want to know.
No.
I was at a town fair, like one of those like church fairs once, and there was a kid. They had to shut down the flying. I was an adult, and my kids were there. We're just standing over some other part, but they had to shut down the flying like, I don't know what umbrellas. It was kind of right. It's like carny rides. They weren't like a big ride because a kid got loose on the ride. And everyone was screaming. and they get everybody off, and this kid gets off and walks away, and it's clearly him. And I'm like, you go home, you tell your mom and dad, we got to move.
Yeah.
Like, you're the seventh grader that had the church fair shut down. You're never living it, like,
never
living it down. 25-year high school reunion. Oh, I remember when Jimmy crapped on the flying umbrellas. Like, you just go home and go sell the house.
Yep, we gotta go.
We're going. I don't care. Pick a state, any state. I'm out of here.
Need a name change. Yeah,
brutal. So yeah, I never thought of that. When we find this guy, so I don't know. My thing is just how much was. Why were you, if you had that kind of stomach flu, do you get on an international flight to Barcelona? Do you risk it for the biscuit? No. I've flown all over the world. You've flown all over the world. All of us are planes all the time. I've never crapped on the aisle.
Yeah, if you're in that much jeopardy, I mean, unless that thing snuck up really fast on you, you don't get on that plane. Or you make sure you evacuate as much as you can before you get on that plane.
It's 8 hours. Yeah, you don't starve yourself. I don't know. This is something. You have to be hair trigger. Like, you feel something. You got to get. I guess he was trying running. You got to wear better pants.
An A for effort.
Got to wear better pants. You have loose shorts or what is going on? There's a social contract between humans, right? Like, people talk about you got to return your cart at the supermarket. There's just like we should have some just basic societal rules. This is like rule 1. You don't even write this down because you just assume.
Yeah.
Don't crap on the airplane.
In the aisle.
Especially an international flight.
Oh.
So here's my suspicion.
Okay. It's a biohazard.
The biohazard. What did this dude eat? So what could spur such anger to come out of your stomach? Concourse F, Hartsfield. International terminal.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually Concourse F is nice. By far the nicest place in that airport.
Very nice. Very nice. So don't just, when I say the one that you think might be it, because we all know this place. Okay. Let's see. The Belgian Beer Cafe, the Pecan Bistro, Starbucks, the Varsity.
Okay.
Concourse F has a Varsity. Now, if you're not from Atlanta, you've never been to Atlanta. The Varsity is a very famous restaurant, if you will, at Georgia Tech. It's like 100 years old. And their signature item, the chili hot dog, the chili cheese dog, the Coney Island dog, whatever you want to call it. A hot dog with chili on it and mustard or cheese. You get the chili cheese dog. I think, this is my working theory on the case, Pat, that I don't think it was an American. I think it was a Spaniard. Because an American stomach, yes, even an American stomach. Okay, like even 100 years of Georgia Tech frat guys have gone into the Varsity, tried to take down some chili cheese dogs, and have found themselves in discomfort and dismay. So here's this refined guy from Barcelona. He's used to a little tapas, right. Yep. Couscous. I don't know. And he's like,
cured meat and cheese.
Yeah, right?
Olives.
Right. Sit around, tell you how good Lionel Messi is. And then he says, I'll try this. I'm going to give it a little go. I'm taking on the Varsity. And they hammer him with some Coney dogs. And it isn't even the Varsity down by campus. It's the airport Varsity. It's the airport Varsity.
That chili's been sitting around.
That chili. And this guy thought he could handle America.
Oh, yeah.
And America fought back, baby. It fought back. And next thing you know, right down the aisle, they're spraying vanilla. They're replacing the carpet. And this guy is in hiding right now in Barcelona, hoping the Daily Mail doesn't find him. Thoughts on my theory?
I think it's bulletproof. It's perfect.
Well researched.
Yeah, right.
Nancy Drew on the case.
This is what I do rather than actually look up crap like college football information or how to pronounce towns in America.
Oh, goodness.
I think it's
brilliant work.
It's a NATO issue. So, ongoing saga. We're going to get to the bottom of this.
We have the Spanish embassy in America, the United States embassy in Spain. They need to do a little cooperative investigation here.
The varsity.
But I think the varsity is just sitting there like so obvious the culprit. There's no doubt.
There should be security footage. If they have footage, the varsity's
Right.
been open since 1928. Do we have some people at Georgia Tech who could work with the varsity people? Get the footage. Is there like a Spanish guy woofing down 3 chili cheese dogs F terminal before this flight? That's what I want to see, because I think you might get a hit. I think the Delta cops would like to know this. And at Delta, if this proves true and we get our culprit, I want flyer mile. Come on.
If Dan Wetzel proves to be the crime stopper here, the poop
Crime
stopper.
stop. That's right. I'm like analyzing this like it's like forensic files, like spray the luminol. I'm like, how is this possible? I'm really into this story. It's terrible. All right. I think we should end the show. We will be back with the race for the case, some picks, more football coming. Week 2 heading our way. Please continue to leave us nice reviews, 5-star reviews. Subscribe, tell your friends about us. Listenership drive, anything else. Watch us on YouTube, whatever you got to do. Help us out here. Help a buddy out. Where else will you get this kind of analysis? What Quinn Ewers needs to do and what happened at the F terminal. This is it. This is the only pod for you. We will talk to you later.